Let's see how you do under pressure. Oh, yeah, I've been wanting this shit forever. I've been in the field with whatever they throw at me. Brush it off, pick myself up, moving on to the better. Okay. Hey. Yeah. Ain't no errors, baby, it's a new era. I wake up early, feeling rich like I'm I get to the paper, boy. Extra, extra. Fuck with me, you know that I got it.
Yo, what is going on, everybody, and welcome back to Life by the Horns, where we boldly tackle life's terrain. So, yet again, got Blake and Dustin here today, and we're going to talk about something that's pretty cool that I think every business owner, entrepreneur really needs to be aware of, and that is, as you start to grow, how to create a good company culture. And a lot of the times, we go based off hiring, who's got the most expertise in a given field, but sometimes that doesn't even always work. Is that right, Dustin?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. So today we're going to be talking about, how to hire the right people, how to have a great company culture, and what's toxic in certain companies that you might not even be aware of. Maybe some of these are in your own business. Maybe some of these are things that you're not even aware of. So we're going to go into that today. So Dustin, I mean, I know you've, been in the entrepreneurial role and business owner role for quite some time. Like, what are the, what are the things that you've seen within companies that you say would have a great sort of company culture?
Well, I mean, even prior to like entrepreneurship or anything like that, man, just being a business builder instead of anybody else's space. Like, I mean, you notice these same things too, but overall, I mean, what I think like the definition of great company culture is the vibe that you feel like when you go there. And is it, when you wake up every day, are you excited about what it is you're doing? Is there an alignment with, your personal core values and the companies, in some capacity? Is there an alignment of the people that are there as far as what the mission is, man, and what everybody's doing? And I think if you can, if everybody's following, the same beliefs, as far as, what the business is doing, you share a lot of the same core values, and you just feel good about what you're doing day in and out, man. I mean, that to me is just the core of what good company culture, just culture in general is. What's your take on it, brother?
I mean, I think you hit the nail on the head. I've been a part of some great organizations, and I've also kind of seen the flip side and been a part of, a terrible organization. It's funny because Miles came in the other day, and that was one of the questions that he asked is, has anyone ever been a part of, a poor company culture? And dude, I'll share a funny story. And I'm not gonna, for the sake of, what I'm about to share, I'm not gonna share any names, anything like that. But I was living in Australia, and, my first sales job, I worked at a telco company, and immediately came in and started like crushing it. But I hated what I was doing. And the guys around me, were kind of asking me, what I was doing. And I was like, man, I'm not really like doing anything crazy. And I kind of just told them, hey, this is kind of my style, my flow, and pretty much how I interact with prospects and customers. The manager and the director, interesting guys, they pulled me into their office one day, and they're like, we want everyone to be as jazzed as you. We want everyone to like, do what you do. And they pulled me in, and they were like, so we love your energy, but we think you could have a little bit more energy and really spark the office. And they offered me lines of cocaine. I was like, wait, what? Where the fuck did this come from?
That's one way to do it.
They're like, yeah, we really want you to, just have the effectiveness and the, instill some of your energy off on the rest of the team. And I was like, what? Like, are these guys serious? Like, they just offered me, cocaine. And I was like, I'm good. Not my thing. And I went back and I was like, if they at the top are doing this, right? And different strokes for different folks, man. I'm not saying you're a bad person because you do things like that, but I'm just like, that's no way from the top down how you lead an organization. I'm getting to my story or to my point here in a sec, but the culture was results, and let's just do whatever we need to do, whether it's good or bad, to get those results. Obviously, there are poor decisions made, and I was like, dude, this place is not for me. So a few weeks later, I quit. And what do you think happened? The rest of the team started quitting because they saw the guy that was producing the most all of a sudden just left. In their mind, they're like, well, if the top guy, the top sales guy is leaving and he's doing so well, maybe we should all leave too. So where I'm getting to is like the company culture is so important, and you can see very early on from the top down how it's led. And if it's being mismanaged or misled, dude, it can have detrimental effects on the business. And I'm sure the business closed probably a month after that because everyone left.
Wow. I think that's one of the things that unfortunately is so overlooked, especially when we talk with, other business owners. Like one of the main things that they'll ask, or they'll say like, hey, I've heard that you've got great company culture. We'd love to come by and check it out. And I don't know if the thought process is like, we're going to hand them a playbook and this is how they're going to do it or whatever it may be. But they then start venting in that process of all of the things they don't like about their team. And it's generally along the lines of, well, this, day and age of people suck. No one shows up on time. No one puts in a ton of effort. They don't do things, the way that I want them to do. And generally, like I always laugh when I hear that because I'm like, well, A, that means that there's a poor level of leadership inside of the company. There's a poor level of training inside of the company. There's a poor level of setting expectations and communicating that. And generally all those things add up to a poor culture. So I'll normally ask when they're like, man, how do you get these guys here so early? Or how do you get them to do it? And it's like, well, it's because we do it. I'm like, oh, so you get here at 6 a.m. to help. I'm like, I mean, yeah, if it's a busy weekend or whatever it may be, one of our companies that does event rentals, like, yeah, I mean, clearly I'm going to be here to support the team. I'd never ask them to do something that I'm not going to do. Am I doing it every single day, day in and day out? Well, no. But am I going to show up and show out, when the team needs it most to show them that, this is a part of who we are and what we do? 100%. Am I going to ask somebody to be at, their phone all day and all night, when guys are out in the field, if I'm not going to answer mine right away? No. But so many people do that and they get so frustrated or they say, well, I've earned my stripes. I did this before. I'm a business owner now, so they should just do it. It's like, no, dude, that's not the way that you build good culture. You don't build good culture by lording over people and putting signs on the wall of what you expect. And I mean, we've even got them in here, but they actually mean something. We don't put things in here like hustle, execution, and grind because we need the team to do it, but we're not going to do it. It doesn't work that way. And I always laugh. I'm like, man, it starts with you. And if you're not willing to do it at the top, don't expect people below you to do it. And the other thing I always have found really unique, because I've been in some good workplace cultures and some terrible ones too. And I've always, especially in larger organizations, found it very interesting where the leadership at the top hugely values taking care of yourself, work-life harmony, and all of these other things that don't trickle down to the team. Like they'll run the team into the ground so that they can enjoy the benefits of life based off of the hard work of everybody else. And they come into the meetings 5 minutes late. They look good. They've just been to the gym. Like they're doing all the things right in their life and their entire team is fat and out of shape and hates being there. And it's like, man, when you come in here, you're not a beacon of what success looks like. You're a beacon of an asshole. And it's very easy to lose. Churn gets super high in those kind of, environments and those kind of things. But it's just interesting. And it's really just two like polar opposites is what I'm describing. You've got the one that doesn't do anything right and expects everybody to be killing it. You've got the other one that takes care of themselves at a high end and does so many things right in life, but doesn't let that trickle down to their team. And when it comes down to culture, there's got to be some sort of dichotomy and balance of you do the things that you want to see, as well as making sure that the team's doing it on top of it and set the right expectations. But
So as a business owner, like how do you start to instill a good company culture? Like let's say you're starting up. Like what are the few core elements that you can, as the business owner slash, entrepreneur, instill so that you start off on the right foot and have a great company culture from the get-go?
so I think the first thing to do that is often way overlooked until later, in the timeline of the company start, is to really sit down and identify, like, what are the core values of this organization and what do we want it to be? What right now do we believe is going to be something that is timeless, through this legacy? And there may be some changes, some subtle ones over time, but what is that? And a strong understanding that a company's core values are an extension of the founder or the founders, period. If they're not, there's no way you're going to live up to it because it's not real. And if you start with a really good understanding of what your core values are, and don't write like 6 things down on paper and say, yeah, I think this is cute. I would encourage anyone to check out Darius Mirshahzadeh. Can't spell his last name to save my life. But he writes an incredible book called The Core Values Equation. If you're interested in fine-tuning yours or looking to just start off on the right foot, read that book, and it'll help you identify that roadmap on how to do this the right way. But you write down your headlines, you then create descriptors, you then take it even further. It needs to go inside of, policy manuals and these kind of things so people can't weaponize your core values against you. But if you start there, it makes everything else so much simpler, especially culture inside of business. Because if you say things like, well, we want to make sure we have mutually beneficial relationships, whether it be with our customers, our team members, or whatever that looks like, that has to exist here. Okay, well, what does that look like? Well, it looks like please and thank you. It looks like respect. It looks like doing the right thing. And you're like, well, that sounds nice. Well, that sounds like that would be good in culture, right? Well, we also want everyone to be accountable to their actions. Okay, so what does that mean? Well, it means humility needs to be in place. It means that we need to be able to have real conversations, and be candid in our feedback. And you're like, well, that sounds like, a nice place to work, right? That sounds like it would be good culture. And then you say, well, we need to make sure that we're consistently learning and developing, because especially in a space like we're in, in the marketing space. If that's not a constant, you will fail, you will die, you will go away. So that is something that you have to continue to teach. And I just think, as humans, like it's something that is vital, to our existence. You should always be doing that. And then, and I'm naming actually our core values right now. But there also needs to be excellence in all we do. I mean, if you're going to be as silly as like we were and put the name best in your name, man, you got to show up and show out every day. And so anything, we're saying, hey, we want to have great company culture. In order to have great company culture, we have to put our best foot forward daily. And you've been in these meetings, man. Team puts something together and it's like, hey, is this our best work, or are we just looking to get something across the finish line? And it's like, well, it makes that conversation really easy. And then all of a sudden, what does it do? It raises the baseline. And when you can keep people at the baseline of what the expectation is and what the culture is inside of the business really quickly, and you have to hold yourself accountable at the top and all the way, down or across, but very quickly you create a system by doing that. And that system will very quickly, if you hold people accountable to it, will keep the right people on the bus or inside of the organization and will get the wrong ones out. They will not feel comfortable holding themselves to that standard. They won't. They'll find something else to do. And that means the system's working. So, to go full circle, if you're looking to, create this inside of your company, really understand your core values. You have to live them through and through and not just at work. I would encourage you to take it outside of work because they are an extension of you as the leader and the founder. Business owner inside of the organization, your management team has to live to this standard as well. We speak to this in our interview process. We speak to this when we bring people on the team. There's certain subtle things that I do in the interview process to make sure that people are, accountable to this level before we even start. And then I love something, that John Maxwell shared, with us many, moons ago. And it was, we're super excited when people start day one, but we also let them know, like, we're glad you're here and we're going to have some tough conversations, from time to time. And I think that's fair to share with anybody. And I think, the reality is what people really want. I actually just had this conversation this morning with one of our supervisors down the hall. What people really want is real feedback. It's what so many organizations are doing wrong right now, which is putting all the blame on the team, not taking extreme ownership in their company culture and the people around them. And they just let people skirt by or fire them at the first offense. Like it's on us, as leaders, out in the world, to make sure that we're setting the tone, we're holding them to the standard, we're coaching them to it. And then, if we can't get them there, then at some point, they may not be a bad person. They're just not great for here, and move on. And never, as a business owner, if you've done a great job creating culture and you've got a great team that's following these core values, if you have someone who's not super great, try to coach them through it, but get them out, because it only takes one person to really bring that down.
Dude, that's so heavy, man, to think that just one person, can have the biggest impact in your business. I think what's crazy too, or not crazy, but like a lot of the times, the business owners and entrepreneurs will tend to like hire who's the best at the profession just for the sake of hiring someone that's, been in the field before. Right, dude. We've done the same thing. Who's got the most experience, but potentially might not be the best culture fit. How have you seen that work out?
It doesn't work. Yeah, it doesn't work, because what you end up doing is you start apologizing for people before anyone even meets them. You start saying, hey, welcome to the team. By the way, you're going to meet so-and-so. And when you start doing that, immediately you should know you're in the wrong. And I mean, I remember early on, in so many companies that I've been involved in, but especially at Best Life, man, we were trying to bootstrap a team of experts, and hiring developers is just an interesting thing. And I've had some, really interesting conversations with many over the years. And, for the most part, they can be unique. And I was really trying to find someone who still had personality and the skill set. And we had found a gentleman who it seemed to really have both, and bring him on the team. And he just kept showing signs of like he was wearing a mask while he was here. And like the real him would come out in these just really like sideways, like verbal attacks at people and degrading them in front of others. And like, whoa. And I mean, I remember we were sitting inside of one meeting and we were just having a simple discussion about something that was SEO related. And there was a misunderstanding of just context in a question, and then something somebody shared to get something across the finish line. And because the team, in his mind, because he had 20-something years experience, I mean, he was the gospel. And if you weren't willing to listen to him, you were wrong and you were an idiot. And those are his words. And he just walks out. And I'm like, get the fuck out of here. So I'm like, excuse me, guys, go outside. I'm like, it's like, out of respect for me and the rest of the team, you need to sit your ass back down, and we need to be grown-ups and talk through this thing. And he's like, I'm not. They don't respect me. All my years, I trump all you guys. And I'm like, hold on. I'm like, you may have 20-something years of experience, but that doesn't mean that you legitimately have 20 years that have compounded year after year, and you're so much better. It could very well mean that you've got a couple of years of experience you've relived many times. A lot of these guys are familiar with other languages inside of development in which you don't specialize in. It's like, I think there's just an issue with context here, and you guys aren't truly listening to each other. So he's like, well, out of respect for you, I'll sit back down. But these fucking guys, and dude, this continued to like manifest itself. And I remember sitting down, and we had made some radical changes to the team last year. And the reason we had made the changes is because we saw a radical shift in our business, because we had a radical shift from our core values, which created a radical shift in our culture. And I was not happy with what I was coming into every day, and I created it. And when I sat down and I went back to our core values, I'm like, this is who we are. What the fuck happened? And I'm like, I let the opposite of this in the door, and I didn't fix the one person that was a problem, which is now creating more problems. You know, it's cancer, it spreads. And I finally was like, well, damn, I need to either coach people and get them back to what this is, or I need to get them the hell out. And so we sat down as a team. We had moved our office. We had let go of one or two team members, and, you know, in full transparency, which I think is something that is hugely important in culture. I'm like, guys, I don't want to scare anybody, but this is where we're at. Because we've deviated from this situation that we're now in is the byproduct of that. This is on me. In order to get this train back on the tracks, this is what we need to do. And if you or I or collectively, we can't be this, something will have to change. And that could even be that I'm not here. And they're like, oh, okay. And dude, you could tell instantly people's body language. Any of the members of the team where you're like, yeah, they're not a great fit. They're like, ugh. I mean, they're all restless in their chair. And I'm like, oh, I mean, the message is getting across. And again, going back to the system. And so, I mean, I radically changed my behaviors and how I showed up every day in focus and everything that we were doing. And then the expectation was that I also wanted to see that from the team. I gave them a little bit more grace though. And I mean, dude, and in that process, I had to let go of a friend of mine that had been working with us for a couple of years that I'd known for 15 years. You know, people talk about, letting go of someone who's really great at what they do. Well, let go of someone who's great at something and you've known for 15 years that has kids. But the reality of it was, in order for us to succeed, we weren't in alignment, and again, great person, but not in alignment with our core values all the way through. Couldn't get him there. And I mean, I remember calling him one afternoon. Everyone works from home on Fridays. I'm just like, hey brother, how you doing? He's super pumped to talk. And I'm like, oh, fuck. And he's like, man, you sound kind of down. You're about to go on vacation. I'm like, man, it's like, yeah, unfortunately in this role, I've got to make some tough decisions sometimes, man. And you're one of them. And he's like, what? And so we talked through it, and he's like, no, this wasn't the news I was expecting, but I understand. And heavy. And then I come back from vacation, and this same developer, that I talked about previously, he comes to me, he's like, Lundy, if we're going a different direction, can I please have a heads up besides a Friday afternoon phone call? I'm like, yeah, 100%, dude. And him and another team member got into a little verbal spat, and I'm like, nope, like I'm done. I sit him down, and I'm not going to go through everything that happened. It was wild. And I sit him down, and I'm like, look, I'm just giving you the heads up, like this isn't a good fit. And for us as an organization, to let go of your lead developer is a scary thing, because there's a lot tied to that. But what was even scarier was to hold on to that personality that made other people not rise to their best self, not hold themselves fully accountable because they didn't think he was, not focus on mutually beneficial relationships because they were afraid he would burn them. So going back, I wish I would have seen the writing on the wall sooner and made the decisions faster. But moving forward, and you've been a part of this, we changed the entire team except for one person because she was in alignment. And we made it a huge part of our process moving forward of this is who we are. This is what we do. This is what we expect. And if you're not in alignment with that, like that's okay. The crazy thing is though, if you speak to those things, who you are, what you believe in, and you put that stuff out there, instantly though, going back to the system, you're going to push people away before they even apply, which is okay. They're going to say, I don't like you. That's fine. Not everyone's going to like me. Not everyone's going to like what we do. But, and you got to experience this because you interviewed a lot of these people from the get and watched these screener videos. one of the number one things people mention is the core values on our site and how we look at our customers as a partner and how we look for mutually beneficial relationships to strengthen them in their business and help them grow. And so many people are like, yes, I want to be a part of that. I want to be a part of something that is true to how I feel, because people want to make sure that they actually have value in their day-to-day job. You spend so much time doing it. So yeah, super, super long-winded answer, man. But for everybody out there who has somebody on their team that they know they have to explain to other people, I promise you, you will be better for not having them. It may mean that you have to work a little bit harder for a period of time, but you will find somebody better. And if you find somebody who's in alignment with your core values, you can teach them how to do anything.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I would rather hire someone who's a little bit greener, but has the right attitude and mentality and that hunger to learn, as opposed to a veteran that's been doing it for 5 to 10 years that's just got a big ego.
Yeah, 100%.
So, because I've been through the hiring process, right? Like you kind of mentioned, looking for, who kind of fits that mold, right? That we're looking for. But like for the other business owners and entrepreneurs who are watching this episode, like what are the, in the hiring process, like what are the 2 to 3 things that you look for immediately to see if someone's going to fit the company culture?
The first 2 are simple. The third one people think is silly. I look for attention to detail, initiative, and humor. Those are all very important to me. So the attention to detail aspect, and I mean, we could do a whole podcast on how we hire people, but in our ads, I have custom screener questions. They're extremely simple. I'm just looking to make sure that they're not just clicking to apply. So if they answer the question and there's some substance to it, you have now made it past the first phase. 85% of people don't even make it past that phase. You could have the nicest resume in the world and be the most skilled person. If you didn't take the time to actually read our application and answer the questions, see you bye. The next thing that I'm looking for is initiative. So in our process, once we think you may be a good fit, so you've answered the questions, you've got a decent resume. To your point, somebody a little greener is okay as long as they're a great fit. So decent resume. Next thing I'm going to extend to somebody is an opportunity to do a video screener, which we mention when they're applying. What I'm really looking for there, and I mean, this is not a me idea. I stole this from a movie that's probably like 5 or 6 years old. It was The Intern with Robert De Niro, and I think it's like Kate Hathaway or something, but love that movie, man. I've watched it, God, at least 6 times. But he early on, in order to get the internship job, has to submit this video interview. And we've been doing it ever since. I'm like, man, if somebody is willing to do something for you before you've even given them a dime, what will they do when they're here? And so we made that a part of our process. And everybody, for the most part, if it's in our event rental business, like I don't make delivery drivers do it, but anyone that is, especially on the BLG side, they're all doing it, or Best Life Group, management and supervisors in the event rental company, they do it as well. Our customer care team does it. Event staff, we'll have them do it. So, large part, almost everybody. But the idea there is, again, will they do something simple? And we make the process very simple. But will they do this? And then we also give them a time limit. If we don't receive this back within 48 hours, we don't think you're super serious. No harm, no foul. If it takes somebody a week, I mean, A, they didn't follow direction. That's not going to work out here. But B, I mean, I've made the process so simple. As soon as you get the invitation, you can literally do it sitting in, wherever, sitting at Starbucks right then and there. So those 2 things have been a game changer as far as making sure we have the right people coming in the door. Humor is really important to me as well. So when they come in for an actual interview, or if we're doing e-interviews, because we've got team members around the world, I love how you guys start out with the initial, and it's like, hey, we're going to ask some technical stuff. We're going to ask some soft skill people stuff. We really just want you to be you and to be comfortable. And we've always gotten really great feedback because we really lower their defense walls and their armor to just like, let's talk. And I know like when I do them, I generally tell them about me first. Like instead of just drilling them with questions, hey, let me tell you about me to see if you even want to work here. Like, hey, I'm a dad, got an amazing wife, got 3 awesome kids. I'm a foodie. I love this. And the foodie thing normally, generates some really great conversations, especially from local people. I talk about weightlifting. I talk about just the things that I love in life, why I love doing what we're doing. And then when I finally turn the table, they're like, okay, well, he may be bald bearded, and a bigger guy, but he's real, oh, he's got kids too, and then we talk about food and funny stuff. And so that helps make the conversation a little bit better. And I think when you lower those walls, you can really get to know who the real person is instead of that stiffness that you feel in most interviews. And this may be super inappropriate, but because I like humor and because I also curse, I will generally slide in an interview. Hey, we kind of look at ourselves like this. I'm like, we are Chick-fil-A as far as our level of customer service, but we also say fucking shit. We just don't say it to customers. And if they're like super uneasy, I'm like, all right, that really offended them. They may not like some of the office antics that we have here, but if they laugh, then I'm like, okay, we may have something. And I even had someone on our team share relatively recently that they had read something on LinkedIn that the interviewer said a curse word and it really offended the person. And they wanted nothing to do with the job opportunity. That's okay. Better to find out then, right?
100%.
Than a month down the road. So, and take that, to whoever's listening as you will, but I don't want, and we've always, people talk about this in the dating game, but it really is important here too. I don't want to catfish anybody. This is who we are. We are not going to walk on eggshells to be around you. I don't want you to do the same. Nobody should have to wear a mask. And if there's something that we're doing in this process that offends you, like our core values, or I said, fuck, there are a lot of other cool places that you can go work at that may not do those things. And that's okay. And that has, it's funny, our team has always shared, and I've had some bad hires too, but our team has always shared, they're like, you do a really great job of putting people in the right place and getting the right people here. And it's like, well, it starts with the ad from the beginning of the hiring process, through the hiring process, into training and setting the right expectations, and then continuing to carry it through their journey. And then from the initial touch point, which so many businesses overlook, hiring is marketing. It is. You're marketing your brand and why your business is so important, how you're going to add value to them, which most companies look at it the other way around. How you should add value to us as a business. No, it's how you can add value to them. And if you can create an environment where people love what they do and they feel like they're adding value and they don't have to wear a mask, you will create an incredible team. And then all of a sudden, these people are making your vision as the business owner come to life. And that's ultimately what you're looking for.
Some pretty powerful stuff, man. Because I think a lot of the times, like a lot of business owners, we don't know how to start out and create that good company culture and how to hire properly and how to fire properly. So yeah, dude, I just think what you just shared is immensely valuable. I guess, is there anything else that you would say to the business owner / entrepreneur to be like, hey, when you're building your business, if you're starting out, like what one piece of advice would you give them to build a similar company culture and carry it through?
Yeah, this is going to sound simple, but it's much harder than it sounds. Know yourself really well. Because it starts there. Because if you have to be fake to create this culture, it's going to be exhausting. And eventually they're going to see the real you. So know yourself really well. Continue to work on yourself as a leader. Admit your mistakes. I think that's one of the toughest ones for leadership. It's like, everyone's looking to you for the answers all the time. And you may not have them. And that's okay. It's okay to show some humility. And then be human. I think a lot of times we as, business leaders, as we're trying to grow, like we don't look at people as who they are. We look at them as a pawn that's supposed to generate 5 times what we pay them in revenue to make them make sense. Or, they're 7 minutes late repeatedly and we don't understand why. And we're just pissed off and we're not willing to have the conversation of, hey, Blake, how are you doing, brother? Like, what's going on? And I think if you can, again, start with yourself, understand what you're not good at, continue to work on yourself as a leader, be human in that process, admit your mistakes, you will be so far ahead of the curve, because most organizations aren't human, don't admit their mistakes. They work on themselves, but I think they become more of the, what I would consider like success zombies. They go to all the workshops and do all the things, but they don't actually carry it out through their organization. Or they look at how everyone in their organization should be doing those things and they're not introspective and seeing how they should. So it really just comes back to, it starts with you. You need to set the example and you need to do the things. But you also need to be able to have the tough conversations with people if they're not towing the line. And then at the end of every day, if I have one superpower, it's this. It's be introspective. Go back and look at your day and the conversations you've had or didn't have, and what could you have done differently to make that day better. And then if you focus on those 1% improvements and come back the next day, like, hey, Jim, I noticed this yesterday. And I should have said something to you then, but you didn't put X, Y, and Z back, like we had gone through in training. Like, why? What's up? Oh man, I forgot to, hey, dude, I totally get it. We get super busy, but I really need you to do that moving forward. Understand? Yeah, I got you. And that sounds so minute, but it is so big. And I think it really starts there. I think we just as a culture, for some reason, take something as simple and maybe complex as this. But when you talk about growing a good culture or growing a business, we look for ways to make it difficult so that we can give ourselves an excuse on why we can't get it to that level, instead of just looking at the person in the mirror and saying, hey, how do people want to be treated? How do I show up as a better leader to help them rise to the occasion? How, when things get really, really tough, do I show up and show out for my team so that they feel the support? And if you can just do those fundamental things, man, it's a game changer.
Yeah, 100%. I think, one of the best pieces of advice that I ever heard was, whether it's, prospect, potential client, or even an employee, leave your people in a better place than where you found them.
Dude, 100%.
So simple. Leave your people in a better place than when you found them. And they might already be having a great day. They're happy, they're crushing it. But even just adding that little extra, like, hey, I noticed that you did this really well, and I love that. Maybe you can share that with the rest of the team and help them, do the same things, or some things that are similar. Dude, it has a profound impact. It's so small, but the employee loves it because they're like, wow, that person actually took the time to recognize just the smallest things that I've done, and they want me to teach that and instill that in the rest of the team. Or even if it's a customer prospect, right? Going above and beyond something that might take just a few seconds. But yeah, if you can leave your people in a better place than when you found them day after day, man, I think it's a fire that will never go out.
Yeah. Well, if you can do that and also have the understanding that people are only going to be with you for a chapter or a season in their life, and just do everything you can to make sure that chapter or that season was impactful, because that's not time they'll ever get back. You will be something that they remember and that they're thankful for. And so many of us, especially when you're, a really small organization, like, you have this A player and they leave and you're fucking devastated. I mean, we've got an incredible member of our team that it's her last day today. And I remember when she came and told me, like I knew the conversation was coming. And she was, sad. And she's like, I don't even want to share this. And I'm like, hey, like, it's going to be okay. And she's like, I feel like she's like, you've just been beat down by so many people this last year. I feel like I'm like stabbing you in the back. Now I'm like, no, like, you're good. I'm like, here's the reality. When I met you, I knew that you would only be here for a period of time. I just didn't know how long that period was going to be. It is shorter than I would have liked, but I hope that, along this journey, I've added some value to you. And dude, ironically, this makes me kind of sad. She wrote me a letter today that I'm in the book. And so she's got a very small book of people that have hugely impacted her life. And I was just like, damn, like all this nice shit. And you're like, man, if you can do this for people on a constant, yeah, it sucks when they leave. But to know that you've got somebody who is now in the alumni of whatever you have put together that is speaking good about you and doing good in the world, even if you've only impacted them in the smallest way, it is such an accomplishment. And, he's teaching us right now, but he's a good friend of mine too. Miles Welch, he had shared something with me a while back, and I didn't buy into it 100% when he first shared it, but when I had time to just sit with it, it makes so much sense. He's like, his parents, it is 100% our duty to get our children ready for the world. But as business owners, it is 100% our duty to take these children that have come into the world and continue to develop them and make them better. And if you sit on that and you're like, man, yeah, as a parent, like you're so thankful for that opportunity to take an extension of you and try to give them the best and the wisdom and all the things that you've learned. But then as a business owner or even a manager or literally anyone in an organization, when you have these moments, to your point, try to make them a little bit better. If that is the focus every day, and you try to take these young adults and older adults, whoever it may be, and make them a little bit better, and they turn around at the end of their time with you and say, thank you, you have actually made a real impact. And there is something so profound in doing that. And again, it sucks to see these people leave, but you also know you're doing something right when you're sitting down with team members and they're telling you, I've turned down 6 job opportunities in the last 12 months because I love being here. All of them had exponentially better pay and better, or whatever it may be. And you're like, man, like we're actually doing something here. And if people would just take that opportunity as leaders so seriously to really pour into their people, again, they may not be there for forever, but they can really help you as a business level up, and then you as an individual. I'll tell you what, when you get those letters from a team member, even if they're going a different direction, man, it really means a lot.
Yeah, man, it's emotionally touching, especially when you get employees like that have just done, so much for your organization, but to know that you've done a lot for them as well. And it's hard, dude. Breakups are hard. Nobody likes a breakup.
Yeah, they are. But you go back to the foundation, like I talked about, and core values, and our number one thing being mutually beneficial relationships. And I mean this, if at any given time you don't feel like this is a great win for you and you could be experiencing a better win somewhere else, spread your wings. Be considerate. I mean, clearly, we obviously want to notice or whatever that may be. And this individual, I mean, she gave me a 4-month notice. I mean, she's like, this is happening. I'm going to give you all the time in the world so we can make sure we've got a good foundation moving forward, because she's a key contributor here. But it's okay. And it doesn't have to be a bad thing. I mean, hell, even yesterday saying bye to her, I'm terrible at goodbyes. I'll get emotional. I might look like, I'm a little rough around the edges and a little tough or edgy, but man, you know, when someone has that kind of impact on our organization, you know, and just in my life, and someone who I respect so much, saying goodbye is tough. But I told her, I'm like, hey, I'm really terrible at these things. This is not goodbye. I will see you soon. And, you know, one of our other team members is in there. She's like, oh my God, you guys are gonna make me cry. You're being so awkward. I'm like, yep. All right, bye. And, you know, I jetted out of there, and she doesn't know this. And she won't actually hear this until probably next week, but we're actually, we've got a special lunch planned for today that I'm about to jet out to and go see with her and her husband and some of the local team members. But nah, man, it's, you know, for me, it's a celebration of her time here and her contributions, but it's a celebration of how this helped her get the confidence to take the next step and go do her own thing. And if you as a company, as much as you don't want to lose good people, if you as a company can build the confidence in people and arm them with the tools, and one day they're like, hey, I want to try to level up, dude, let them do it. Thank them for their time. And if it doesn't work out, hey, you know, we still got an HQ. You know, you're always welcome back. But yeah, I don't know, man. That's just my thoughts.
No, it's pretty special, man. And I, you know, thank you for sharing. And I'm sure, you know, other business owners and entrepreneurs here listening to this have probably experienced the same thing. And it's okay. It's okay to, you know, let good people spread their wings and fly. That's what you want, because then, you know, you've done a great job as a business owner or the entrepreneur to help them, you know, achieve that goal. So thank you guys again for tuning in to Life by the Horns. Blake and Dustin here, as always. And if you could like, follow, subscribe, we'd greatly appreciate it. And if there's any other questions or topics that you guys have that you want us to speak about, we would love to hear about that. But again, we just want to thank you from the bottom of our hearts for tuning in once again. And yeah, we'll catch you on the next episode. Thanks again,
See you guys.
Yeah, let's see how you do under pressure. Oh, yeah, I've been wanting this shit forever. I've been in the field with whatever they throw at me. Brush it off, pick myself up, moving on to the better. Okay, hey, yeah, ain't no errors, baby, it's a new era. I wake up early, feeling rich like I'm. I get to the paper, boy. Extra, extra.